Yeah, you know what? I mean,
One of the things that happened to me recently is that my clock stopped working. It's gradually been getting slower and slower over the last 2 days, reluctantly refusing to arrive to the hour at which it was going to be changed. And finally, just 10 minutes ago, it stopped. And I don't think it's ever going to start going again, to be honest. I think it's interesting how the objects around us interact with the time that we impose upon them. Even the most perhaps innocent seeming of objects, the clock, refuses to play with us in the way that we want it to. What we've just listened to is an almost entirely unsolicited mashup of various pieces of music, a trailer, if you like, for the broadcast of the concert that's going to happen tonight at 1 a.m. until 2 a.m. And I'm sure I don't need to give that concert too much introduction because that is, after all, the reason that you're all here in this pre-concert talk. But what we've just heard is a sort of trailer for it. Throughout this hour, in this pre-concert talk, we'll hear from several different composers and performers who are involved in the final concert. And we'll hear their thoughts on their pieces, on their work, and perhaps on other things too. Did everyone else get that little sound? Cool.
Recording in progress. Yeah.
I think it was more American.
Can you hear us?
Progress.
Sorry, Amy, can you say that again? My internet went.
Oh no, it will be my internet. How are you, Rylan? I don't think we've actually spoken in person.
Yeah, no, I think I have that with like a lot of people, like over the pandemic especially. Yeah. It's like, oh yes, my Twitter friends, and I'm like, yes, my own and I've like never met them.
Yeah, I have that when I go to concerts in like central London, like new music concerts. I'll enter the venue and I'll look around and I'll be like, oh yes, It's
know all these
me and
people.
Twitter here.
It's great to actually be meeting up with people like the last few months in the flesh that have only been like faces on the screen before. I was like, oh my God, these are real people.
Some of them.
Most of us.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben, you're a real
Hey.
person.
I'm a real person. I am. I've just been teaching composition and preparing a lecture on tachyons.
I'm always surprised at the stuff I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, like, I was researching it and I realised I knew about an eighth of what I should do to do a lecture on Takamitsu. So actually, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, but this is how I feel when I teach year 3.
What with colours and shapes. Oh, there's a third primary colour. Fuck.
I was talking about a 3-sided square this morning with my little kiddies choir. Yeah, 3-sided square, we know what you mean. Like a triangle. That's the one.
That's the one.
Oh, that's adorable.
That's very cool.
That I was doing minimalism with year 4, and the entire we had like 20 minutes of the lesson which was all based on like listening to a load and like trying to come up with a definition for minimalism. And like the more we sort of like kept going and like kept conversing, the more I kind of forgotten what I was trying to like drive them towards, and I was just like, hang on a second, like what? I don't think I can actually put it all in like a one easily digestible by a 9-year-old sentence. So I was just like, minimalism is just like small music.
Small. Please write a piece called Small Music. That's
Then we had
such a
to
good
dig ourselves
title.
out of a hole. I had to do some Googling.
Is it music that really hurts when you step on it? Is that what Lego music is?
It's got too many sharps, Ben. That's quite hard.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I think we're waiting for 2 more people, potentially.
I was going to say, do you want some more serious chat, or do you want to hold
Yeah,
off?
sorry, I thought I'd just pop in and...
No, Fraz is just delighted that we're doing this because it means that they don't have to curate anything by themselves. Fraz is just sitting back and going, excellent, they're doing the art for me. I'm loving this.
Do you think that your breakfast choices inform your compositional practice?
You know what? That's an excellent question. I mean, probably, but I haven't noticed how. So, yeah, but who knows? Bread versus toast. I always go for bread. People who have toast are weird. Dunking bread, I suppose, is a bit like dunking biscuits, but not. So, well, I haven't had cereal in ages, actually, but yeah, I have it plain. Sugar pops and, like, the ones with honey in them, sadly.
Because leaves, like cereal, are crunchy.
I mean, in autumn, they're crunchy, which is when you last played my piece.
That's actually a really interesting point. Did you have an idea for which time of year the piece should be performed in?
I was kind of excited by trying it at different times of year and seeing how the light would change. I mean, at one point I was tempted to be like, perform this ritual like 4 times once in each season across the year, at dawn and at dusk, and then like layer all of them up so that you get like a year's worth of rituals.
Because I suppose it's not only the light that would change, but also the actual sound of the leaves.
Yeah, for sure. And like the texture of the wood and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I think like it would be interesting also like the whole relationship to the forest or the woods and stuff. Woods.
And it could even be like snowy or frosty in the winter.
Yeah, that would be really fun. I enjoy that.
What you just heard was a surprise phone call from Zia. I had asked them to phone me at some point during this hour, and sure enough they did. I actually answered whilst we were listening to that panel discussion, so you may have noticed that I had to dip out just at the end there to answer the phone. There was a slightly dodgy connection at some point, so we missed a few of the questions. but I think we might be hearing from Zia again in a little while, and they can shed a little more light on the specific decisions that they made in the sound that you'll hear in the broadcast later. They, of course, wrote a piece which I performed, or in fact will be performing. There's elements of the piece that are performed in advance and elements of the piece that are performed during the performance. So we should be hearing a little bit more from Zia, I think, if they can find a better signal. You see, they're currently, I believe, going for some interesting late night walks around some forests, searching for sounds, as we often do. Anyway, I'll dip back into the room with the panel conversation and see how they're getting on. I hope they are covering some sort of interesting and useful topics. That specific group of people seems perhaps that they might wander into unrelated conversational territory. But anyway, I'll dip back into that room now. I haven't planned what's going to happen in the broadcast yet. I think what I'm looking for from this conversation is kind of just chat, really. Because the concert that's going to happen, I don't know if you even, like, all of you maybe, or any of you know the mechanic, the like concept of what the next one's going to be. So we had the concert in October, which you all had pieces in. And then the one that's going to happen in March is like the pre-concert talk for the one that we've already had. So the theory is, or like the idea is that the hour between 1 and 2, which we're not getting in March, was just like picked up and put in October. So I'll kind of do the whole broadcast as though it's about to happen. When I did it last year, I had like a countdown the whole time. So it was like, you know, when it gets to like 10 minutes, it was like, please take your seats, the concert's about to begin, and all of this stuff. So it was all building up. And then it got to 1 o'clock. Well, it didn't get to 1 o'clock. It got immediately to 2 o'clock. And then there was just like 5 seconds of applause, and then it was the end. You know, when you have a concert and you have all of the composers just like awkwardly sitting behind a table and no one quite knows what they're there to talk about, and all of them have different kind of ideas about what their piece is about because they're all different pieces, and no one's told anyone what the point of the thing is, and the audience is all there either like fans of one composer or like just accidentally there early. And
then you'll have a cis man that will talk an awful lot, and then some marginalised genders on the outside, like occasionally chiming in with something that's immediately squashed.
Are you wanting me to play the part of awful cis man? Is that?
Well, someone needs to, Ben. Yeah. Someone needs to.
It's not a lot of choice, really, Ben. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't really want to do that.
Could you explain my composition to me?
Hello, Henry and Ziggy, you've just arrived. I mean, you know that you've just arrived. I'm acknowledging that you've just arrived. Thank you for coming.
I'm aware of my
Henry.
I think. Hi, Ben. Hi, Florrie. Hi, Ryan. Hi, everyone. Hi, Amy. Nice to be with you.
Hi.
So now that we've got most of us have actually arrived into the room, which is nice. I think there were some traffic problems getting to the venue. It's quite busy at this time of night. Sometimes at 20 past midnight can be a really difficult time to travel across the city because there sometimes are these sort of outside kind of looking at the sky events, which end up having a lot of people in the way and a lot of therefore congestion. So now that we've got everyone, perhaps we can begin.
We're missing Felix.
Oh, Felix is busy today. I don't think he had anything in it. Maybe he did. Felix is just taken up a new job. Yeah.
That it?
I remember it being a really weird job, but I can't remember what it was. I feel like it's something to do with like tasting or like testing something. But then I also think it involved like going to people's houses. And then those two things didn't connect very well because I feel like that would just be stealing people's food if you're doing that.
Wasn't he going to go and do filming for Wigmore Hall?
Oh yeah, they sacked him because he was too rude about their most recent broadcast. It might not be the most recent.
Honest and refreshing, you know, and like going, look, you need to sort this out. This was crap. I think I quite want someone to come in and, you know, if I was doing a series of things, do you know what, that last one was shit. We need to do it this way. I'd be like, okay, great. Thank you for your honest views. Not like, can we sanitize this, please? It needs to be PR, you know. But I think artisanal theft is a better job anyway. So can we just do that instead? Today,
Yeah,
I
like-
will receive this olive focaccia here, which has been lovingly handmade by this family. I'd much sooner do that kind of tasting, where I need to pay for nothing. It's much better.
Yeah, it's definitely a kind of. I suppose that would be what you call a portfolio career of stealing food in some places and then insulting concert venues in other places.
How about if you steal the food and then review it on your Instagram or something?
That'd be quite good.
Yeah.
One of the things that sometimes happens in these kind of panel discussions is that you end up with silence as people take the discussion onto the inside of their mind. And I think that this is a good time to think about, well, time, because when we end up going into the silent internal kind of passageway through our mind, we operate in time in a different way. Throughout the concert that's due to happen soon, we'll have occasional excerpts from a piece by Patrick, who we're about to hear from, who couldn't make it to this panel discussion, but is in fact in a different room in this venue. So I'll be having a look to find if I can find that room. And Patrick's piece is, well, Patrick will talk about it best, but it's going to be featuring occasionally throughout the concert. Let's see what they have to say.
Hi, I hope you're well. It's Patrick Ellis here. Just a quick word about my 2020 piece, Around the Clocks. That was an excerpt was played during the last sort of change of the hour back in October. So the piece was written in 2020 for a thing called Biosphere Festival, which was hosted by an Irish group named Kirkus Ensemble. And the whole kind of theme of the ensemble was basically to make works that were sort of concerned with the environment or informed by the environment, or to sort of bring light to sort of the environmental challenges and changes that we face currently and will face in the future. Not to kind of talk about it for ages and ages and ages, but basically there's 24 movements, and each is based on a year from the past 24 years, and the duration of each movement is the average like global temperature converted into time in terms of seconds and minutes, and then with that there's also sort of depending on how high the temperature is, a deviation from some original material that I wrote, which was just based like a static chord. So the idea is that the lower the temperature, it's more based around a set chord I gave them, and the higher the temperature, the more sort of deviant the players were from that written chord. To sort of add more twists to it, the players went around different public clocks in the city in Dublin, and basically just played outside them at the start of each hour for the duration that was given for that temperature and that year. So in total there's 24 sort of short movements, and you can find the whole kind of piece on YouTube where you see kind of each of the different movements and sort of see how time passes through the day. Yeah, I hope that kind of gives a good insight to the piece.
Time is very much ticking onwards, and as anyone who's watching their clocks will be aware, the actual concert is going to begin in just over 30 minutes. So I think we have a little bit of time for just to see how that panel discussion's going on, and then there's going to have to be a very brief ad break. So that'd be quite.
Can you remind us all what the pieces were, Fraz? Because my brain don't work.
Theft influencer. I like, yeah, that's great. They get paces and then we'll just steal it and then we'll influence you. So be grateful. But you don't know if you're going to get stolen from. So just be grateful when you do.
Because it's exposure.
It's good.
Absolutely.
It's you know, it's yeah.
Do you want me to play you a recording of your piece, Florrie? If you can't remember it.
I can't remember it.
I'll just quickly screen share.
So it's probably too many brain drugs.
Laurie, I was going to say that's the issue when you write like 2,000 pieces a year. I'm sure some of them slip through the cracks.
I'm not Matthew. Oh yeah, I remember this piece. Yeah.
I don't. It's fab.
Yeah. I don't think it was called that though. I think that's one of your titles you made up for us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe
it was called Time Lost and Time Gained.
What do you think it should have been called?
It should have been called Time Lost and Time Gained. Definitely. Yeah.
What did the piece make you feel like?
Is this like a real answer?
You can answer however you want. You can answer a different question.
The piece is really about sort of shifting modal layers, really, which doesn't sound very emotional at all, does it? But then, you know, modalities are really nice because they're all basically built on sort of harmonic ratios. Like all the natural modes are sort of these the basic intervallic values, so like 2 to 3 and 1 to 4 and whatever, stuff like that. So it's like when you shift the ratios against each other, you're actually just basically playing with duration and tempo, though it doesn't sound like it. It's all happening behind the scenes.
I would have asked about the title, but if that wasn't the right title.
Well, it's going to be the right title, isn't it, when this is broadcast?
I suppose so.
Yeah, we're talking about things that haven't happened yet. So I'm going to call the piece Time Lost and Time Gained. I think that's the title I'm going to go with when the piece is written.
It's kind of interesting that we have just decided to do a panel discussion before any of the music's been written. I wonder if anyone has any thoughts about that.
I actually have written stuff. I'm just here just in case you don't get enough pieces and then you might put one of mine in. So I actually don't know whether I'm going to have mine played yet.
Is yours like an optional encore?
Yeah.
That's cool.
My piece is already important separate to this. So in some ways I feel superlative in all directions.
Yeah. Good evening. This evening's concert will begin in 30 minutes. We have to listen to a moment of sponsored content.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, there are some people outside my window, some work people, and they're building a crane at the moment. But like they're using other cranes to build this crane, and it's happening in front of my eyes. And it's got me wondering who built those cranes to build this crane, and I'm finding it extremely distressing.
Infinitely recursive crane syndrome.
Yeah.
That's a very nice image.
And they're all yellow as well, which is very, very exciting.
Do you feel that's like really important to your art though, that like whenever you're making a piece of music, it's basically built from music already created by other people? All you're doing is recycling previous creations?
No, that's not important to me.
I think we might be looking out the same window.
Wait, is that you?
Yay!
Etc.
Amazing. It's good that you have such good visibility in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's something I've worked on a lot. I actually did my PhD at the University of Sheffield in that exact subject, and that's now primarily what I lecture in.
Impressive.
Do you like how well I've managed to emulate the sun, considering it's so late at night?
Well, yeah, I can see how you're doing it, and it is utterly fucking terrifying.
There we go. You'll only find out how to do it when I eventually save the world by being able to emulate the sun.
The sacrifices you have made have left a indelible dent on this planet and its reputation. You know what you've done, and I'm very thankful for that.
I mean, just before you make accusations, though, we're going to take it all back. This is actually a lamp from IKEA.
We're actually very impressed by the sacrifices you've made, Amy, and we're wondering if you could make any more.
Oh, I guess I could. I just need a couple of moments to set up. Let's do that. That can be the body. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm watching through the window, so I can see you doing this through the window, and it's shocking how many glass heads you have in your house. How did this happen?
Oh, theft! Actually, real life theft. This is one of the only family heirlooms that I have.
Or was it stolen from another family? How is it a theft family heirloom?
I feel like we're watching the premiere of a new performance piece. Like, I want the live version of this in a concert hall somewhere. Awkwardly trying to balance this head on a bin bag.
Well, it's achieved a kind of balance now, hasn't it? It's an unequal equilibrium kind of position. It's natural rest.
This is kind of a sacrifice.
It's quite like a nihilistic flop as well. There was just that moment. The head that speaks for us all.
It's quite iconic, really, isn't it? At this point in 2022, to have that completely empty head, which we can see right through, it does sort of represent, in a way, all of our fears for the future and our hopes for the present situation.
Whoa, that refraction is very appealing. Disagree.
Oh, Professor Gorn, perhaps you could share your opinions about the metaphoric symbolism of transparent heads.
Nah, I'm okay. I didn't do that for my PhD. Just dark vision.
So the panel discussion appears to be continuing pretty well. As you can probably tell, my general situation here is that I'm kind of wandering around between the different rooms that make up this whole venue. I think it's just important to clarify to listeners who may be at home and therefore unable to visualize this venue because it's quite a strange place. I'm just gonna carry on walking, but I'm gonna have to go up to the roof because I think that I'm just getting a phone call from Zia again. So I'll just see what I can make of that phone call. There's about 4 flights of stairs to go up, so I'm just gonna have to hope that the signal holds out. Let's see. So going back another step, do you have anything that you would think it is important for someone to know about the piece? Bearing in mind, I suppose, that this broadcast of it is audio only, and there's obviously a film aspect.
That's a really good point, actually. Thank you. I mean, I would say that it might be worth being aware that this is an audiovisual work. So, like, the performer needs, well, I suppose they don't have to, but I asked them to go through a forest and, like, collect some leaves, which then feature in the piece, and build a connection with the wood and stuff around them, so that then we see a kind of like contrast in recital, or wherever we see it performed, where we see this kind of natural, visceral connection with the forest on screen, and then in the room we see them playing on like modern human-made books. And so there's a kind of tension there, but ultimately, like, it's all kind of connected.
Do you think that you'd say that... Oh, I just lost connection there. Not to worry, though, because this is the traditional moment in the broadcast where we play a game.
Would you like to play I'm on the Spectrum with me?
Yes.
Amy, what's at your end of the spectrum?
Combustion.
Combustion. And Fraz, what's at your end of the spectrum?
Worms.
Worms. Between combustion and worms. And what are we going to place on this spectrum, Henry?
A goose.
A goose. Oh, that's easy, Ben.
Is that for me? To do?
And there is a right answer.
There is a right answer, but
I will tell you if you're right or wrong.
Well, I kind of feel like it's 20% worms. 20% wormwood, as they call it. Wormwood direction.
20% worms, 80% combustion.
No, 20% from centre. Come on, you wrote this game. You know how it works.
It's not like stereo panning.
It is exactly like stereo panning, and I'm panning 20 wormwood.
20% worm, 20 to worm.
Yeah,
I would say it's actually the right answer. I'm going to give you a point for that, Ben.
Thanks very much. I will take that point. I will put it in my pocket, and I will save it for another day when things are looking pointless. Thank you.
Fantastic. And if I just add up the scores after that game, we'll see that Ben is the winner with 1 point. Well done, Ben.
And congratulations to Ben on that win. That game was hosted by Florrie and was won by Ben. And what a positive note to end on, that we can save up our points for a time when we are feeling pointless. The panel continue their discussion after that brief game interlude. The game, of course, was pre-recorded. The panel discussion is not pre-recorded, just in case there was any question over that. There has been a couple of write-ins. Well, I say has. There will be a couple of write-ins in April of people complaining that they think that some of my material is pre-recorded, and I just want to clarify now that none of it is. But I think it's quite likely that I was wandering, or pretending to be wandering around and like encountering creatures and things. So if over the course of this, especially worms, I keep on talking about worms. Hi Ziggy, thanks.
Hello. Sorry it took me so long to get on. I was like, this entire area is just horribly noisy and I could not hear anything, so I kind of like tried to go down to a slightly quieter spot. I'm by the river, there's a swan there. Cool.
Okay.
I think he's a swan, there he is. But yeah, that's my vibe. How is everyone? Okay, so I guess in context, this was done at Festival Mixer, which is a thing I went to in Barcelona last year. It's kind of like 3-4 days, kind of like extravaganza of contemporary music with lots of fun and lots of stands and lots of weird sounds and lots of cool people, and it was pretty great. And as part of that, I did a workshop with a violinist from Seville called Elena Ray Rodriguez. At the end of the session, I was like, well, we've got like 5 minutes. Do you just want to like jam out? I jumped on the piano and she did some stuff on the violin. In terms of quote unquote, what is an improvisation? That's a very good question. One that I'm sure to provoke a lot of both positive and negative responses if I try to answer. But essentially, what to me constitutes an improvisation rather than a kind of spur of the moment performance is I kind of deliberately shut off my conscious brain when I was performing and let the subconscious and the unconscious kind of do all the talking, essentially. And
I just glanced out of my window and saw a kind of like massive bird, like biblical proportions. And I was thinking that maybe improvisation is like close to what we might do if something that you didn't know or didn't expect was going to show up, like a massive bird. It's kind of your like instinctive response, but sonic.
That's a really cool way of putting it. It's the kind of thing where like because it's an intuitive response, not something that you're constantly trying to plan out or think. It's like, oh, there's a sudden goose there. Like, what are we gonna do? But instead of trying to think about what you'd do if the goose just randomly appeared, or if, like, I don't know, like a swan bitch showed up and started to break my arm or something. Like, instead of that being kind of a conscious like, oh god, what am I gonna do? It's just automatic, instinctive, like, oh, my arm's broken and there's a swan here.
How big are birds in the Bible?
Birds in the Bible.
How big?
I suppose it depends on if you're talking before Noah and his ark or after, because they had a size limit, because they had a like specific size door, and so all of the ones that were too big to go through the door had to, stay outside. So at the beginning of the Bible,
and so you couldn't fly alongside. So lots of people don't actually know this, but like the animals had to be on the ark. So the rest of the birds, they just shot them all down.
A reasonable response.
What if you just flew over the ark and then landed on the top?
No, they had those spikes. They had the anti-bird spikes on the top of the ark.
Just a total no-fly.
Right.
I mean, the big problem really was like water birds, wasn't it? Ducks, swans, geese, cormorants.
I think they had one of those
shags,
little paddling pools.
Boobies.
Well, because they had to have all of the fish tanks as well to put the fish on. So I think they probably had ponds on the boat as well.
I guess
That's very interesting you should say that, actually, because...
Did they have a boat on the pond in the boat?
They had 2 boats, a male and a female.
That really tickled me.
I'm supposing from a fish's point of view, then the flood was like the opposite of an apocalyptic event. It was a great blessing. They could be fish tourists and go to places they've never been before.
It's sort of like fish Mardi Gras. Let's celebrate everything about being a fish, and
all
let's have more of our space to roam around in.
All these fish had always wanted to go in a restaurant or walk up a mountain. I think
it's like adventure backpacking, isn't it? It's
I think there's something in The Little Mermaid about this, isn't there?
Yeah, thrill-seeking fish.
Yeah.
The fish in the restaurant.
It's very brave of Disney to keep producing all these trans allegories, I think.
Are you describing the Bible as a Disney-produced trans allegory?
Well, I think it'd be, it's almost become the standardly accepted, view these days that the Bible is basically all about personal transformation. But in particular, I was talking about The Little Mermaid, which, in the Book of Disney is one of the most popular Bible stories.
This evening's concert will begin in 15 minutes. As you just heard from that notification, we've not got that much time left, and the panel may have to start talking about their music, but we'll have to see about that. And I don't really want to steer the course too much. Ben, I've heard from an unmarked letter that was posted through my door that the piece that you're due to have performed in today in 1 hour / a week and an hour is to be called Nothing Else Exists. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on that or any spoilers that you might share with us. Few
spoilers. I like that phrase for a pre-concert description very, very much. How much am I going to spoil my music by saying some words beforehand? It's a real dance number, 1920s jive, punchy jazz, in the face, in your face kind of music, up and down, side by side, lots of notes, nothing to hide. That's how I describe my piece of music. Cranes as well, obviously cranes, but that goes without saying. Thank you very much.
Is violence an important part of your musical language? Sorry, Amy, you were saying?
I was calling Ben brave.
I'm really glad that somebody's finally seen that in me. I am very brave.
I wanted to ask you about the use of violence in your compositional practice.
Well, I mean, I practice violence, so I don't need to use it in real life. That's what we're...
For him, because I think I probably just know more about this than you, Ben. Forgive me. Ben uses violence based on how he knows we all feel it within. He reads our thoughts and he takes our fears and he decides which ones are going to be crotchets and which ones are going to be quavers. And then that's how you write music.
That's, yeah, I suppose. Just one note after another. Every composition.
Sorry, Ben. I was listening to what Amy was saying about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted.
If we could just go back to Amy, that would be great.
Yeah. And then some of the other notes that he uses are semiquavers, and if you're really lucky, you'll maybe get a triplet. But actually, he doesn't do triplets very well because he does the student triplet where you where you don't make them even, but actually you elongate the second one and then you shorten the last one, so it kind of ends up as a da 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 da, instead of the even threes that because that's actually what a triplet is supposed to be, is even.
This reminds me of one of the kind of big kind of musical questions that I've had a lot recently, and I've never quite got a kind of clear answer, and I've asked lots of people, and I wonder what your opinion on it is. And that question is a minim rest or a 4-beat rest the one that sits on the line?
Oh, so it's the sock analogy. So so there's socks on a washing line, and because the minim rests are the lighter 2-beat socks, they blow in the wind, whereas the 4-beat socks are heavier and they hang down from the washing line.
It's a really interesting.
Are crotchet rests pants?
Crotchet rests are pairs of tights that have gone all wrinkly in the wash.
Ah, what are pants then?
They're a kind of leg wear.
This evening's concert will begin in 10 minutes. We just have a little more time to hear from a couple more people before the concert begins.
I'll say a few things about the piece that's due to be performed soon. Yeah. It's...
Sorry, you have to rhyme.
I will find some words to say about the piece that is going to be performed soon, live from this room, somehow featuring an obligato part for a mushroom, or should I say mushroom, actually, because I'm using the older pronunciation of it. Actually, if you listen to the early modern English pronunciation of the word mushroom, it's why it's been popularly turned into the diminutive shroom for anyone that engages in the recreational drug. So in this room that we have here, and I want
room
this moment,
in this room
that we have
room
in this room we have.
Are you sitting in a room?
I'm sitting in a room, and in this room we would have, and I want you to go inside the rhyming couplet of whatever might come next after room. So
room is like a metaphor for womb and your eventual doom. And then you will line your tomb. And these are all boxes. These are spaces that contain us.
I disagree.
Professor Bryce, could you tell us something about Ben's disagreement?
I don't think he's cited any sources, and therefore I don't think it stands up. So yeah, I wouldn't pay any attention to it whatsoever, really.
I also heard no connecting sense of a stanza. I heard one line. It felt very much structurally like it didn't fit this discussion. No potential to rhyme.
Yeah.
No opportunity to shine. There was nothing like that. And this conversation spins on a dime. So we need to make sure that whatever we say, we think this is mine. And if we don't do that, then we're not gonna shine, are we?
I disagree.
So I'm getting a responsorial
again. So then you've not cited any sources. I find it really problematic.
Well, I'll take that on board, I guess, and just try and do better in the future. But also, I completely disagree. But that's besides the point, isn't it?
I have actually heard that response from somebody else before, so I'm wondering if there is a plagiarism issue to be addressed here, Ben.
And in this nation, we prefer citation, which obviously, if there's a wide, we'll blate this, and I don't think it's a good thing.
They require an explanation.
Well, I disagree. I mean, like when the yellow cranes are making the other yellow cranes, they don't accuse each other of plagiarism. So just think on that for a bit.
I think you're too far away from them to hear if they are accusing each other of anything.
So your accusation of the cranes' conduct is in vain because of your distance.
Distance to these cranes is so immense that they could be in Spain or on another plane of existence, which would be a strain on this conversational refrain.
The case with this room, the case is for the bass in my piece. And
are you making enough space for the bass?
I think you must always make space for the bass. I'm concerned that there's not enough space for the line to shine in the bass, which could be the case when you listen to it. It might not prove to be an instant oral hit for you guys.
Well, we don't want to be in a disgrace if there's no space for the bass in this case.
I will leave that to your grace.
It's very kind of you. Henry Page.
It's my pleasure, Florrie.
I really don't know what I'm going to do with all of these recordings.
I disagree.
I've just got my eye on the time because I expected that Zoom would kick us off after 40 minutes, but it gave us the gift of more time.
Somewhat ironic, isn't it? Considering
this evening's concert will begin in 5 minutes. Please take your seats. I've just managed to get Zia back on the phone, so we'll just hear what they have to say for a moment. space that they're in when they're performing it. Do you think that you want the audience to feel like uncomfortable or to sort of sense that tension in any way? Is there any final things that you have that you want to share?
I was showing it to someone a while back who was saying that they would imagine it kind of being performed in a very like square, plain space on a kind of like quite a striking black screen, and then you see the complete juxtaposition of that in what's on the screen. But I also don't want to be kind of complicit in a human's nature kind of dichotomy, I guess. I guess it's a piece about connection, really, and that's, you read into that and relate to it how you want to, maybe.
This evening's concert will begin in 3 minutes. Please take your seats. We're just going to quickly return to the end of the panel discussion as they begin rounding up before the beginning of the concert. I think that they may be discussing some of the future plans for these broadcasts, for these concerts. Let's just see what they're at.
I thought Peppery's getting an extra day. Massive spoiler.
I feel quite violated that I didn't discover this in my own narrative stream. It's been foisted upon me now in this interview context, and I feel it's information I might need to process.
I don't want the extra day, so I don't know who to give it to.
Ben's frozen.
No, I'm not. I'm fine.
I feel like I'm having a fever dream.
The Emily speaks.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a guest on the broadcast.
It's just stepping into a stream, or rather just sailing down one and being open to however it went, rather than having to come up with a stock bit, especially when you talk about pieces, which I hate doing because it's so inorganic and rubbish, really.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go as far as going down the other end of the spectrum and going, I will talk about nothing to do with my piece, but I hate and here's my press release. I don't care.
And my only contribution to all of this is to see the random frames of animals that I find around here. I think I've seen 5 swans and a dog, and I think a cat walked off. I don't remember, but something like that happened.
This evening's concert will begin in 1 minute. In this last minute before the concert begins, I'd just like to offer a small apology for the silliness of the panel discussion. It's obvious that none of the composers or performers involved were briefed at all, and I hope that none of the audience members here tonight were hoping for a very serious panel discussion. I found some of the things they said to be illuminating, and I also found some of the things they said to be very silly. I would just like to remind everyone listening that I was at no point involved in the panel discussion and was rather wandering around the other parts of the venue. I spent a little bit of time trapped on the roof. This evening's concert is about to begin. There is no longer time to grab a Coke.